The incoming special envoy to Ukraine and Russia is Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, and he joins me now. General, is this the killing of this general? Is that a setback for peace talks?
Yeah, Stuart, thanks for having me. I don't think it's really a setback, but I would say this. There are rules of warfare, and there are certain things you just kind of don't do. You know, for example, you don't kill wounded soldiers on the battlefield. You're not supposed to kill non-combatants. When you're killing flag officers, general officers, admirals or generals in their hometown, it's kind of like you've kind of extended it. And I don't think it's really smart to do it. You know, it's just not kind of the rules of war as you said. Now, if you're a general officer and you're on the battlefield or you're forward, you're a legitimate target. But I kind of looked at that and I said, that's carrying a little bit too far, and you hire a mercenary to do it. Not a good idea at all, in my opinion. But, you know, this is warfare, and, you know, warfare is ugly, Stu, and this is the kind of thing you see in warfare. It's unfortunate, and that's the reason why soldiers never want to go to war, because this is what happens.
A U.S. defense official says several hundred North Korean troops have been killed or wounded while fighting in Ukraine. We're told that Russia is losing up to 1,200 troops per day. Ukraine has lost around 40% of the land they seized in Russia's Kursk region. General, sounds like both sides are close to exhaustion. Isn't that a pretty good time to talk peace?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think both sides are ready. Think of a cage fight. You've got two fighters and both want to tap out. You need a referee to kind of separate them. And I think President Donald J. Trump can do that. I think he's got a vision to do that. I think he's got the energy to do that. And I think he's actually got both sides are willing to get together eventually and talk. I think it's a perfect position for President Trump to be in, and I think he'll execute well. When you look at the casualties, you know, Stu, this is where you go back to where the Russians fight. There's a great book years ago called Russia at War by Andrew Wirth, and when he kind of said this is how the Russians fight, which is mass warfare, when you use human wave attacks, sort of like the North Koreans are doing right now, you're going to have a huge casualty level. And the casualty levels are around right now with Ukraine and Russia about 5 to 1. That's attrition warfare, and you never wanted to get into an attrition fight with the Russians. It's historically how they fight. That's how they fought in World War II. And they just basically overwhelm you by throwing the amount of troops at you. But then your numbers just go way up. And so you go back to what you said earlier. After 1,000 days of war, with 350 or 400,000 Russian dead, with 150,000 Ukrainian dead, or numbers like that, both sides are saying, okay, maybe this is time we need to step back. And it's a perfect time. And I really believe that President Trump, who made this promise on the campaign trail, will actually execute this, and it'll come to conclusion, I believe, this year. I think he's got the right ability, right capability and ability to do it. So I look forward to it.
You're visiting Kyiv in January, just a couple of weeks from now. What's the main goal of that trip?
Well, I don't want to really report on the trip because that is going to have to come out of the transition team, what I'm going to be doing. But here's what I would say about a trip, or any trip that Steve Witkoff makes as well. This shows the energy of the administration, the new administration, and that President Trump has put people in place to get stuff done. And it shows that we are executing at a rapid tempo before the inauguration and then post-inauguration, because it's kind of an attitude of we're on Trump time and we want to get stuff done in a hurry. So I give great credit to President Trump and the new administration that he wants to get things done both in the Middle East and in the European region, to include Ukraine and Russia. So the intent is, when you can't make any policy, frankly, because of the Logan Act, but what you can do is you can talk to people, sort of like what Steve is doing in the Middle East as well. Okay. And any trip that is taken out there will be designed as an information gathering trip, not as a trip to set policy, because you can't do that. Okay. But what I like about the whole attitude of everybody with the Trump team is let's get stuff done for the American people.
Get on with it.
He made promises on the campaign trail, and we're going to fulfill those promises.
General Keith Kellogg, thanks so much for joining us.